ahead and call the meeting to order. And I want to remind everybody there's masks and sanitizer over by the door. If they need it, feel uncomfortable over by the door, you can help whatever you need. Let's stand and say the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody to mute or turn their cell phones off during the meeting to make it go a little more easier. We don't have any interruptions. We'll start out with Andy Shaw. He's going to give the annual report for Blackhawk Hills Regional Council. Andy.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman. Sorry, I got to get my distance to the mic. Get a comfortable understanding of that. Okay, not used to this. So yeah, thank you. I'm Andy Shaw from Blackhawk Hills Regional Council. You have a copy of a letter from our board president and our annual report on your desk, and there's extra copies at the chairman's desk there too, if there's any other needs for it. Blackhawk Hills, or BHRC, is the regional planning organization for community and economic development in Lee, Ogle, Whiteside, Carroll, Stevenson, and Joe Davis counties. We want to thank you for the folks that you send to our council to represent Lee County. Mr. Nicholson from your board, Carrie Wolf from Lee County SWCD, and Janice McCoy, who is our at-large member from Lee County. Notable work this year includes COVID-19 response, including indoor air quality assessments. You see on the report there, picture, that's Tim Benedict, who did some staff work this year doing those assessments, and you can see him. They actually had a CO2 monitor, and they would introduce a tank of carbon dioxide into a room and test the air exchange in that room as a way to measure air quality and whether air is being freshened enough for a facility. And so that was one thing that was done. Walkability assessments were also done. We assisted local government with the Local Cure Act funds, and we initiated a workforce housing study and new recreation planning. We are funded by projects and grants. Chiefly among those is from the U.S. Economic Development Administration that's matched by our 6 county boards, and that's the backbone of our economic development district funding. And we also become aware of other funding opportunities and pass those along to the counties and municipalities, and expect that to happen again soon with the American Rescue Plan Act funds that are in the works. Some other projects have included 2020 U.S. Census outreach, other coronavirus and the CARES Act, and that was what we did and utilized for the indoor air quality and the walkability assessments. The workforce housing study is being shared with an EDA grant as well as the Lee Ogle Enterprise Zone, splitting the funding on that. And that is ongoing right now for the county. The county is also expected to be part of our Greenways and Trails update. We are pushing out, and several of our counties are enacting the CPACE program, and we're hopeful that Lee County will be part of that as well. And then also, you know me as part of the Lee Ogle Enterprise Zone, and I administer that for Lee County. On top of that, we have roundtables for GIS staff, county board chairs and administrators, municipal mayors and village presidents, and zoning administrators. And so we are there to support the region, and that is our report. Just keep it brief for you. I know you have a lot of business.
I appreciate that, Andy. Any questions for Andy? Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I forgot to do roll call. You want to do roll call?
Allen. Here. Valley. Here. Considine. Considine. Farster.
Here.
Gibbler.
Present.
Horseman.
Here.
Hudson.
Present.
Humphrey.
Here.
Kitson.
Present.
Copain.
Present.
McLean. Minimi.
Present.
Nicholson. Norberg.
Here.
Palin.
Here.
Sheline.
Here.
Shippert.
Yes.
Scrogstad.
Here.
White.
Here.
Williams. Williams.
Here, would you speak louder, please? I can't hear you. I got my hearing aid in and I still can't
Yes, sir. Wilson,
Here.
Zeman,
Here.
Olson.
Here. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the approval of minutes of the June 17th regular county board meeting. Anybody got any corrections? Any corrections? If none, we'll let them stand as read. We'll move to the resolution. I have two Joseph Meyer tax auctions. I need a motion to approve them. Mr. Kitson, Ms. Shippert seconds it. We do them a roll call vote, please.
Ellen,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Farster,
Yes.
Gibbler,
Yes.
Horstman,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Kitson,
Yes.
Copain,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Minimi,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Shippert,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Zeman,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. So to the zoning board, we have no petitions. To the planning commission, we have no petitions. From the zoning board, I have petition 21-P-1563. Petitioner is Big Sky Wind Power. Property tax numbers on file. It's East Grove and May Townships. Petitioner is requesting a special use zoning for the purpose of repowering the existing wind farm. Do I have a motion to approve that? Arlen McLean, first. And second. Doug Farster seconds it. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Jim Horstman. Almost hidden in the hundreds of pages of testimony and documents is the fact that the petitioner is seeking to substantially increase the size of the wind turbines. They don't talk much about it, but it's an important part of the plan. Most of the proposed wind turbines would have rotor diameters 36% larger than the ones that are out there in the field now. And even the smaller ones would have rotor diameters at least 25% larger than the ones that are out there. And when I say rotor diameter, I mean the wingtip to wingtip measure of the spinning part. The wind turbines that are out there now have a rotor diameter of approximately 288 feet, which is pretty big. The new ones would have a rotor diameter of approximately 393 feet for the V120s, and 360 feet for the V110s. So they're seeking to increase the size of the rotor diameters. Again, that's wingtip to wingtip by an additional 105 feet. The total height of the V120s would be 475 feet. And I have trouble visualizing what that figure is, so I looked up some comparables. 475 feet. Each of these wind turbines would be 114 feet taller than the top of the Springfield Government Dome. Each one of them would be 170 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty. Using a more local landmark as a reference, the V120s would be taller than 9 Black Hawk statues stacked one on top of the other. And 475 feet is the equivalent of a 43-story building. they want to build dozens of these in southern Lee County. Now, the ZBA has recommended that we approve this project. But when you look at their findings and recommendations, they don't even address the fact that these wind turbines are going to be up to 36% larger than the ones that are out there. ZBA also didn't find that the project would be in conformance with the county's comprehensive plan. It also didn't find that the land evaluation and site assessment analysis, that is the LISA score, supports the project. It also didn't find that the project would preserve, encourage, and enhance aesthetic considerations in connection with that part of the county. And under the board rules and the zoning ordinance, each of these elements should be considered. None of them were. Most importantly, to me, they didn't address how much bigger these proposed wind turbines would be. Over 10 years ago, I think the county made significant compromises when it approved the building of these wind towers with the 288-foot rotors. They're huge. I can't see any adequate reasons in this record to impose on the people of Lee County the burden of these supersized wind generators. And I don't know if everybody is aware of how much bigger these are going to be. There's only 2 passing references in all the days of hearings where the petitioner acknowledges how much bigger these are going to be. For those reasons, I will vote against the petition. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Horstman. This is, of course, a repower. I think the blades are 37. Alice, would you like to come up to the podium and talk to us? I think we have a project currently going in over Pawpaw, which is probably the same size or bigger than these turbines are. Debbie,
Yes,
correct?
the Mendota Hills repower was, I believe, 116 meter rotor diameter. So they're about the same size as these going in. And we did not have any objections to the petition from any landowner in that area.
I think I spoke with them this week. I think they're going to enter into a good neighbor agreement with the non-participating turbines residents. So I think that's a step forward. Also, you know, what is the megawatt ones going in over Pawpaw? What are they, 5s?
I believe 5, yes.
And these will be 2.7?
No, these will be 2.2.
2.2, yeah, that's right. All right. Any other questions for the project?
Mr. Chairman, I have a concern. There's a statement that there have been no objections by the surrounding landowners. I have a concern whether they understand how much bigger these will be. It took me 2 times reading through to find the very brief references to the fact that these are going to be substantially larger.
I would agree with you, but this is the 3rd time through. This Big Sky has been proposed through. I would think the neighbors are aware of what's going on, but maybe not. Marilyn, you had a question?
Since it's a repower, it's the same footprint as what they've had previously?
Yes.
Okay. And previously we granted special use, so we need a new special use for the repower. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question is the repower, I understand that, but the size of the units themselves being 100 and some feet bigger than the other ones, is there going to be issues with the wind turbines from what they were to what they are now? I mean, the centrifugal force around a regular turbine is X, but I mean, by going 100 and some feet taller, is that going to produce problems for the people that are in the surrounding area? And do they understand that the size of the blades are going to get bigger to where it can produce more shadow flicker or whatever it may be? I don't understand that.
I would have to have somebody better than me to answer that question. Alice, you want to take a?
Could you repeat the question?
I guess when they say repower, to me, for them to repower means to do something that's similar in size and similar in whatever they're repowering. Repower, as opposed to being another 100 and some feet bigger, what does that do to the repowering? You're saying we're adding we're adding power to them, but we're also doing 100 and some feet bigger. Do they understand that wind turbine could be substantially bigger and produce more wind noise and whatever it may do?
They've received the information. This is the third time, so they have received certified mailings, the public. They're invited, also they're notified of the hearing so that they can come and find out more information. And again,
I understand that, Allison, but my point is, when you say repower, that means power again. Maybe the units are old and we're just going to repower and do the same thing. But I think what Mr. Horstman's trying to say is, if you make the units 100 feet bigger, what does that do to the surrounding area? What does that do to the wind noise? What does that do to the size of the unit? I guess that's what my concern would be.
they have to provide a professional certified engineer's certificate for both the foundation and the towers. They have done shadow flicker studies and have sought waivers for anyone receiving more than 30 hours of shadow flicker a year. They have to comply with the Illinois Pollution Control Board's regulation on noise. And if they have any violations of that, they've had to obtain waivers. So does that answer your question?
I understand that, but my point is, do the people understand that since they are 100 feet bigger, could they be different than what they've been before? Repowering means repowering, doing it again. We're doing it again, but we're doing it bigger. I guess that's my concern is, do they understand it could be a bigger issue? I don't know that.
Without talking to them directly or having heard from them, I can't answer that.
Okay.
They have been provided all the information as well as notice of the hearing. So.
Okay, perfect.
I think the megawatt of the farm does not change though, correct? I think
Correct.
they're putting 2.2 in it, and I think that's what's in them now, or is that correct?
I think they're at 2.0, or I think they have 2.0, 2.1, and they are repowering 58 turbines.
Chris, got a question?
A comment is the technology's greatly changed on these. So as they've gotten bigger, the new technology is actually quieter at a lower speed, is my understanding. And then at a higher speed, it'll actually be louder, but most of that's going to be drowned out by the noise of the higher speed winds. And I think to your point, Mr. Wilson, is everybody's had an opportunity in the area. I can see them from my house. I know exactly where they're at and how much bigger they're going to be. Everybody in the area has had an opportunity. It's whether or not the public or the neighbors or the public have taken it upon themselves to attend the hearings, listen to them on Zoom, and voice their concerns. So I can't babysit everybody and make them get here and make sure that their voice is always heard. So.
Mr. Nicholson.
And from what Alice has said, the standards are going to have to be met from a noise and pollution standpoint. So that's governed by the state.
Mr. Humphrey.
I got a question for Mr. Sheeline. Being a astute pilot, is this an issue for planes that extra 200, 150 feet?
So the FAA regulation is that you have to stay away at least 500 feet vertically or horizontally from any structure. And that doesn't matter whether it's a barn, a machine shed, and that goes up to 1,000 feet over any inhabited area like Dixon, a city, municipality, village, or anything. So, as a pilot, when you fly, we're not down at 500 feet. The crazy guys that sprays your fungicides do, but and they have to deal with that. But we've had windmills for some time.
Sure. Well, I guess that's my concern is people get accustomed to a certain height and then we increase it by 150 feet. And I'm not saying there should be within that targeted no-fly zone, but we all know how things happen, and so.
So like over at Bresson's, you've got, that's a visual flight rules airport. And so you're not, those guys over there, they're gonna have to make sure they're aware of the additional height. But, as a rule, we're way higher than those. It's not an issue for aviation.
More questions? Charlie, just, are there any questions or concerns were addressed at the ZBA level? We're not here to relitigate it. There's a first and a second. We want to move on. If there's any questions, we're going to call for a roll call vote. Go ahead, let's go ahead and vote.
Valley,
Yes.
Barster,
Yes.
Gibbler,
No.
Horstman,
No.
Hudson.
No.
Humphrey.
No.
Kitson,
Yes.
Copain, Copain,
He had to step out.
McLean,
Yes.
Minimi,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Shippert,
Yes.
Scrogstead,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson,
No.
Zeman,
Yes.
Copain, Olson,
Yes.
Alan.
Allen,
Yes.
Tabulate that for us.
$16 yes, 5 no.
Motion carried. Thank you. From the zoning board, we're going to look at petitions B through I. There was a due process skipped on them. So I'd look for a motion to send it back to zoning. Mr. Kitson? Your motion to send it back? Mr. Dornberg seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor and send it back signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Carried. From the Planning Commission, ordinance amending regulating development of wind energy conversion system. Sorry, Mr. Norbert.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we tabled or lay this over for 1 month because it is an ordinance with the following correction that the setback is 3.1 times the height of the turbine. So that is section 9. That's the only correction that I have.
The rest stands as read.
Rest stands as it is.
Do I have a second of that?
Second it.
Mr. Nicholson seconds it. Do we have any discussion? We're gonna hold this over. We're voting on holding it over for 30 days to vote on next month. Any more discussion? I think we better have a roll call vote on this.
Parster,
Yes.
Gibbler,
Yes.
Horstman,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Kitson,
Yes.
Copain, McLean,
Yes.
Minimi,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Shippert,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Zeman,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Motion carried. We'll move on down to board member comments. Any board member want to make comments at this point? Nobody? We'll move on down to public visitors. I have nobody on the agenda. Nobody signed up. Anybody else? Public visitors want to make comment? All right, we'll move down to committee reports. Finance, Mr. McLean.
We spent the majority of our meeting talking about budget and doing budget briefings and whatever. We did approve the starting the process for the Comcast agreement. It's a lot more things have to be done on that. Planning a board planning retreat to talk about budget before we have to meet with the department heads. Lastly, we're waiting for the ARP work group to meet and give suggestions, so we're not looking at budgeting in both areas the same thing. So, Court, any questions?
Any questions for Mr. McLean? Thanks, Arlen. We'll move to transportation, solid waste, Mr. Zeline.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Solid Waste Transportation Committee met on Tuesday, July 6th, usual place with the usual suspects in attendance. We took care of the claims, and I would make that motion, move the claims.
Second, Mr. Norberg.
All those in favor, pay the claims, signify by saying aye. Aye.
So the rest of the report is there in front of you. Just make a note that I've mentioned this before, but we're at 20 tons of electronic hardware being delivered to Amboy, and that's 20 tons not in our ditches. So, you know, I'm always excited. I'm always amazed about how much electronics get turned in. So we're up to 40,000 pounds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Still got room.
Any questions for Mr. Sheline? I got a bunch. All right, moving on to properties, planning and zoning, Mr. Nicholson.
Okay, minutes are there in front of you. We had our meeting last Tuesday at 10 o'clock due to the holiday. As I say, the minutes are there ahead of you. Don't really have much to add other than everybody can observe the fact that the courthouse is getting another facelift. Everything's going well. They're got a pretty well power washed throughout, and they are in the process of taking out some of the old mortar to get ready to put in new mortar. Other than that, anybody has a question, I'll be sure to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Nicholson? Thanks, John. Moving down to administrative services, Mr. Norberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a very quick meeting because of some stuff we're going to talk about later in the claims process, but we did have Miss Jennifer Boyd in her first meeting as acting assessor, we'll call it with it. So it was fun. We got through that meeting. The other thing that we are talking about is updating the rules and procedures, and a key part of that, which you all on Zoom will want to hear, is the executive order runs out on the 25th, that county board members will no longer be able to get paid and participate in meetings via Zoom unless the executive order gets extended. There are some reasons in here that they can because of illness, disability, business purposes, family emergency. but it is something that we're going to continue to talk about if we want to allow Zoom as a permanent fixture in our county. So that will be discussed at our next ad service meeting. So let us know what you think.
Any questions for Mr. Norbert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go on down to,
I've got the,
okay, that's why I was just looking your name up here. We'll go to public
okay,
safety.
Mike had to step out for a few minutes for a family situation. So public safety met last Wednesday. Pretty routine meeting. We approved the bills. Stacy Stewart reported a number of changes that are going to be taking place in her office, some involving GPS monitoring, also a system of recording, just keeping track of people. So it's all explained in the report. Maybe Stacy's online if she wants to add to that. Stacy?
Hi, yes, I'm just presented information in regards to GPS that could potentially change in the future. This is all part of the pretrial reform. And these are things that we're continuing to keep an eye on and work with as we continue to move forward with that launch date of January 2023. So I'll do my best to continue to keep the board advised of changes as they continue to come down the pike.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy. Any questions for Marilyn? No questions for Marilyn? Thanks, Marilyn. We'll go down to Blackhawk Hills Regional Council. Mr. Nicholson.
We didn't have a meeting yet this month. It's going to be the 26th.
All right, thank you. 911 Board, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the report always submitted by Director Dallas to the county board. In addition, she had to report that Motorola Flex public safety project is in full swing and that she and Mike McBride heavily are involved at all the stages. That administrative law and jail training took place at the EOC last 2 weeks. Full system administration staging to take place August 10th through August 12th to prepare for 2 months of end user training in October and November with a go live for the entire system scheduled for November 30th. Testing for dispatchers took place on June 15th, and there are 5 applicants that are on the hiring list. And the next ETSB scheduled meeting is Thursday, July 22nd, 5:30 p.m. at Lee County PC.
Any questions for Mr. Hudson? Thanks, Keen. Tourism, Mr. Palin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Lee County Tourism Council met yesterday, July 14th. This flyer on your desk recites most of the activities in Lee County coming up. They include concerts, art shows, big truck show and Grand Tour. Our share of the hotel motel receipts for the month of May were $8,408.18. This amounts to $632 more than the total receipts for 2019 and 2020. Moving on.
How you doing?
This concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Palin? Thanks, Bill. Jonathan, can you mute them? We'll move to the Health Department. Ms. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did meet this month. We met on the 13th at 6:30 at the Health Department. We welcome, the notes are actually on your desk for the minutes that we already have published, so you can review those. But some other things to note from the meeting is we welcome 2 new members, Mrs. Courtney Kennedy and Dr. Nog, so they're on the board as well, so good additions. A couple things just to keep you filled in on. The county budget was submitted for the Finance Committee review. That will be in August. 2 full-time and 1 part-time contract producers will remain, as extra funding was secured to keep some of them on through at least the end of the year, so that's good. All COVID grants were spent, or funds accounted for, so coding whatever they can for reimbursement from FEMA, so that's a good thing as well. This includes some costs that were incurred by providing the vaccine, which is great. In regards to COVID, we always have a COVID update. There is an uptick statewide in the virus. And I'm sure you guys are all aware of that. 8 counties in Illinois, not including Lee, were put on the warning list last week. And since that, this week, it's up to 13 counties. The Pfizer 12+ vaccine is ready and available. The Lee County Health Department will have walk-in clinic on Monday from 8:30 to 2:30 from those, again, ages 12 and up. It's an opportunity for all of those students 12 and up to get vaccinated before the school year starts because there are no restrictions at school this year. They even minimize social distancing to 3 feet from 6, and masks are not required. So there's a concern with that not just in Lee County in our health department, but nationwide with the schools starting in fall and those limited restrictions. Everybody anticipates another increase in COVID cases. So just keep an eye out for that. And then again, note the Delta variant as well. So we're kind of just playing it day by day. Fiscal update. Regardless of COVID, the state has not offered any grace period at all for any of the grant reporting or reimbursements. And the Lee County Health Department for 2 years in a row has successfully submitted everything on time, even with all that they've gone through with all of the COVID clinics and still having to maintain their other services. So I think they need an applause for that as well. So that's all I have. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. White. Any questions for her? Thank you. We'll go to Tri-County Opportunities Council. Marvin.
Mr. Chairman, Tri-County Opportunity Council met on June the 24th by Zoom. Our next meeting will be by Zoom, or we can attend the meeting. And that meeting is going to be in at the Mendota Civic Center. So we have a choice to go on Zoom or going to the meeting in Mendota. And we still need some help, some workers, part-time workers with the GED, for bus drivers and the service workers. So if anybody know anyone that needs a job that want to work part-time, we'd appreciate it if you could send them over to our office in Rock Falls. So that's the end of my and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them if you have any.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Williams? Thank you, Marvin. Move down to United Counties Council of Illinois, Doug Farster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did not have a June meeting. The next meeting will be on July 26th up in Galena, or their annual event. So there, like I said, there's no minutes because we didn't have a June meeting. If anyone has any questions about the Galena event, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer them.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Farster. We're moving on down to executive. I need a motion to approve claims. Mr. Nicholson, Mr. Kitson seconds it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the reports, the request of deposit of funds, and orders paid in vacation. Mr. Kitson makes a motion. Mr. Sheeline seconds that. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Let's go on down to old business. We have the solar ordinance held over since May. I'd entertain a motion to pull it off or I guess to put it into effect. Mr. Norbert. Do I have a second? Mr. Palin, any discussion? Any discussion again? I think we'll do a roll call vote on this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Marilyn, I'm sorry.
Even though we're passing it at this point and the Duke Energy Project is already in the works, going to start their hearings in August, am I correct in the understanding that Duke will abide by these new ordinances?
Yes, from best of my knowledge, they signified they would, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The petition, in answering Maryland petition I seen had the October ordinance, if I'm not mistaken, so I don't know which one that was or not, but my question here on this one is that this is, we have alluded from the comprehensive plan and this ordinance, I guess, and doesn't take into consideration the Lisa score on and any of the farmland and stuff that's going to be considered. So I got a problem with that. I know that it's been in there, but I just made a comment, I guess.
All right. Mr. Norberg.
Yeah, I think I was even talking to somebody on the way up. We had 5 meetings on this, and we know it's probably not perfect. We're still trying to figure some stuff out. To your point, Mr. Humphreys, the Lisa score probably needs to be readdressed, but this is a lot better than what we currently have from what we need. Is it perfect? No, but is it something that we can bring back to the committee back together and build in something on the Lisa score, or build in other concerns that board members have? Absolutely. But this is at least a step in the right direction. So I hope everybody passes this unanimous support because of the amount of time and effort that went into putting this together. And thank you, Mr. Bowers, who's not here, but I'll still call him out on all the work he did.
Any other comments? We'll go ahead and call
Mr.
it.
Chairman,
Yes.
just a question, I guess, to Chris. Is there a commitment on the part of that committee to come back and consider Mr. Humphrey's concerns?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll bring it together. I know we got to get through the wind ordinance, but there's nothing saying that we can't put it together, especially with Mr. Bowers not being on it and Mr. Humphreys having a concern. I think he'd be a great fit for it. So there you go, Rick. Get that volunteer you for some more stuff. So, but I think there's definitely a commitment from the committee to bring it together. It's not going to be next month by any means, but we can get some more stuff added as we see the concerns that we have. So yes.
I believe all these ordinances are living documents that they need to be addressed and tweaked as we go, so to speak. So this is not perfect by no means, but a step in the right direction. Any other comments? You want to do a roll call vote, please?
Kibler,
Yes.
Horstman,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Humphrey,
No.
Kitson,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Minimi,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
No.
Shippert,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson, Wilson, Zeman,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Barster,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Motion carries. Let's go to old business B, updated claims procedure and recommendations. I'm going to go to Chris to explain that, and we'll go from there.
I'm actually going to look at 2 of my ad service committee members over here and let them tell you kind of what they thought of it and how smooth it went. And from the department heads that are in the back of the room, how efficient it was. So I'll turn it over to Miss Allen first.
Yeah, I would say that we finally spent more time focusing on department heads and their reports and asking questions than we did on claims. The difference being that still as a board committee member, I was able to review every claim. It got past me. I was able to look at receipts, which I think we actually spent more time doing than when we're trying to read and pass it and get it signed and get through it. I actually looked at more of the credit card receipts than I normally would on a regular basis. But we didn't have to read everything. So for me, I felt the meeting was more value add than reading claims, but still gave us the opportunity to look in detail if we wanted to. So that's my opinion.
she took the words out of my mouth, which is unusual, but she, I would also say that there was still transparency there. We did take time to look at them, and we did kind of focus on listening to what the department heads had to say. And sometimes I think that's just as important.
Wendy was able to do a little research and found that we have currently at $2,500 and less is what gets approved by the administrator. I know it's kind of a monkey see, monkey do business. Whiteside County is, I believe, $20,000. So we are very much in the Stone Ages and compared to how we've been paying claims compared to a lot of other committees. We ran a very smooth and we got a lot of information that we typically don't get in 45 minutes. It was fantastic. So I encourage you to watch it on YouTube. I think even Mr. Horstman was kind of skeptical of it, and even leaving the meeting, he was like, this worked out all right. So
I think some of the new software, I think with talking to Wendy, that we can do some better printouts in the future. So I think we'll expand on that a little better. We don't need a vote on this. I think it's more informational purposes.
I have a question. Is it a recommendation that each committee uses this procedure, or is this something that you guys have outlined that we should all do? Or
So right now, we wanted to see where the kinks were going to be in ad services because we can write it into the rules and procedures aspect of it. I think if every committee wants to just watch what we did, see how it went, encourage you to ask questions to myself or any of the other committee members. And if we like it, let's get in the 20th century. Let's try to be more proactive on understanding what our department heads are doing rather than whether or not they bought electricity or paper or water.
I agree. And as a person who works full time, it's going to be very helpful for me to be able to attend meetings and focus on the things that we need to discuss. So I think it's a great job.
100% there.
All right, thank you. John Nicholson.
I have some questions about this. I've talked to Mr. Valley a number of times about, Mr. Norberg, sorry, thinking Mr. Valley there. I've talked to Mr. Norberg several times on this procedure. I don't really like the fact that we are minimizing the importance of the claims. In this case, we are somewhat. I believe it's the responsibility of the committee members to analyze the claims, go through their committee, so they have a good idea what's going on within those department heads or departments. I watched at public service or public safety, and it took a total of a half an hour to do claims, and that's from what I understand about normal. And I don't feel a half an hour to review all those claims is I think it's important that we do that. I don't believe it's a good fiscal policy to have probably one or if not the highest paid employee in the county reviewing claims that could be done by 5 or 6 per diem employees or per diem board members that get the same no matter how long it takes them. I'm very obvious of the time it takes, and we may save a few minutes in having Wendy compile the claims under $2,500, but I just don't believe it's a good trade-off to pay her the high wage to do that. Whiteside County, and I didn't do the research, but Chris made the comment that Whiteside County does it up to $20,000. But bear in mind that they have an administrator and I think 3 assistants over there. So they have the manpower and they've invested the money to do it that way. I'm just not in favor of changing the process. If the Ad Services Committee wants to change it, so be it. He's the chairman. For one, for properties, I don't think I'll be changing it. In our committee, we had quite a bit of conversation about this, and I think Mr. Valley came up with one of the best arguments for not having it done the new way, so to speak. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but I think he had a very good comment on why we should consider doing that. So.
Yes, Mr. Valley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree. And it took 15 minutes to do, or a half an hour to do it, but a good portion of this time was with lots. which in the future may go down a thing. So a few minutes to oversee, to bring up the members on what happens and the learning process of what the process is very minimal for your time. Without it, the meeting would be over with so quickly that it would be really worth showing up for. But it is a real good learning experience for the members as we come every 4 years or so.
Sure. I'm going to leave it up to the committees and the chair to sort out. Yes, Mr. Nicholson.
I was going to go back to your comment, Mr. Valley, on the fact that really our administrator was hired to look down the road 4, 5, 6, 10 years for our county and provide the vision to guide our county, not sort through claims.
Any more conversation, comments? Thank you. It was just there for informational. We don't need to vote. Let's move down to old business C, the CPACE resolution establishing an agreement between the County of Lee and the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority to provide commercial property assessed clean energy improvement administrative services. This has been tabled since June of 2020. It went through finance. I think finance approved it. It went to executive approved it, put it on the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve and then we'll discuss it. Yes. Yeah, very true. Mr. Sheeline moves to take it off the table. Mr. Kitson seconds it. All those in favor to bring it off the table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thanks, Charlie. Now I'd entertain a motion to approve it. Mr. Kitson and Mr. Norberg seconds it. Any discussion? Yes, Marilyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've sat in on a number of the finance committee meetings when they've discussed this. Our treasurer says it will not be an addition, much of an additional workload there. My opposition is putting the county in the banking business. We're not bankers, we're government. And I just see that there's no place for involvement for us in that. It's a workaround to allow somebody that maybe is skeptical on their financing to find another way to work something out. So I will be a no vote on this.
Any other comments on it? Andy, you want to step up and what has the other counties done around us?
You put them on the spot.
Yes,
Other comments that came up?
yes, that voted on this, Ogle County or surrounding counties, I guess where I'm going with that.
And I think, similar thoughts have been expressed. It is a program that, can reach some people that are on the edge of the same credit worthiness of being able to go to a local bank and get that funding. But, it does have the purpose of getting some good improvements made, on the commercial real estate. So we feel that balances it out and it's going to get some good things done by having that.
I was going more in the lines, did Ogle County approve this or did any other counties approve it surrounding us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Ogle County, probably 9 months ago did theirs. Whiteside County did last month through the ordinance level. So they have fully moved through it. Stevenson County is probably going to be doing their final approval of their ordinance. They did the resolution several months ago. They should be doing that this month. Joe Davis County as well is in the middle of that process. So most of our counties are at some stage of this, of implementing it.
Sure. Mr. Nicholson.
One of the things that is, I think, missed there is when a developer comes in and they have tremendous amount of investment, only a portion of the investment goes through the bank. The rest he has to get from other sources. I think Mr. Shaw explained that last month, but he has to get some from some sources, some from other sources. If he can get some through the CPACE, it saves him some interest and lessens his costs, and he's more prone to development, can spend the money on something else. Not only that, but unbeknownst to, I think, some of us, there is a method of reimbursement for some of this extra time that our treasurer would have to take to compile some of this. There's written into the ordinance that governs this is a reimbursement for the cost to the treasurer.
Mr. Kitson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me. We've kicked this thing around since 2020. I think we've had Andy and the group been here 3 times talking to us in finance. And Marilyn, I agree with you. We're not in the banking business, but I don't believe this is banking any more than we pass money through to lots. We're going to pass the money to the bank. We will be reimbursed for the banking, as Mr. Nicholson said. And also there is a opportunity for one-time money on each of these loans that goes through, which is some revenue for us. And also it's going to help the taxpayers. It's going to help our business, our industry. It doesn't have to be, we all talk about new businesses, what they need to do. It may be somebody who comes in and picks up a building like the old Anixter building over on Route 30 that everybody's worried about, you know, and they pick that up and want to do some solar or something, and they can borrow the money through this to do it. And it's really no cost to the county, but there's opportunities for us to make some revenue and do what we're supposed to do, I believe, and help the taxpayers of the county.
Mr. McLean.
They both explained what we talked. We talked at length at the meeting. I think when we found out you could collect fees and have another quiver, arrow in your quiver to get new businesses and remodeling and stuff like that was, I think, a unanimous vote when we finally went to that.
Any more comments? Thanks, Andy.
Thanks.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor of passing the CPACE resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Do we need to do a roll call, or? I think it passed.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Motion passed. Let's go on to new business. Before I go very much farther, I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce Wendy. Wendy has a bunch of words she wants to come up and talk to us about tonight. I think she had something ready for us, prepared. Actually, she didn't, but Wendy started Monday, and I want to introduce her. Everybody knows Wendy, but she started as our administrator Monday, so I'd want to give her a nice welcome. Thanks, Wendy. All right. Go down to new business, A, Comcast franchise agreement. Mr. Norbert.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Comcast franchise agreement contingent upon having a truth and taxation hearing prior to signing.
Is there a tax involved in that motion? Next month, after that? Tax amount?
5%.
Very
5%,
good.
please.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Nicholson seconds it. Any discussion? Yes, Marilyn.
Did you get an updated figure from the company on what revenue we'd be getting from this 5%?
She's sitting in our audience tonight. I don't know if she'd like to share it with us or not.
That is proprietary information, but is there any press here? Okay.
They do listen, though.
It could be as much as $100,000 a year. And that is if you charge the 5%. Now, what the FCC allows is up to 5%. At this point, you're not charging any. You can charge 1%, 2%, up to 5%. That is the ceiling. You do have the option that if the FCC were to raise that, you could have the option of raising it, but it's completely up to you, completely up to you. What if you tell us you want that done, then what we do is we take 90 days to get all of everything in motion to have that come onto your citizens' bills, the ones that have our service. We collect that, and then on a quarterly basis, we issue you a check. There's no handling fee for that at all. We just give you those dollars. Are there any questions about that? It's completely up to you.
And this would apply to residents not in the city, but in the county that are customers of Comcast.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Any other, yes, go ahead, sir.
If this information is proprietary, how do we know what we're going to receive?
Well, you'll get the check. Quarterly, you'll get the check, so you will know.
Okay,
You will
thank
know.
Any more questions for her? I think, thank you. Don't see any more questions. We got a first, we got a second. This is to add a 5% tax on this, and we're going to have a truth and taxation hearing before middle of August at some point. Yes.
The way the franchise is written, you can approve it without putting in a franchise fee. The franchise gives you the option, and you can, anytime during the length of the term of the franchise, you can decide to enact that fee or not. So the only thing is that in order for you to enact that fee, the wording has to be in the franchise. It's there for you to use at your discretion or not, completely up to you.
I believe we have to sign the contract by the 18th of August or something like that. Is that the date?
Yes, that's when it does expire.
Okay, I
So
think we
yes,
will
the
have
new
a
one
truth
would-
and taxation before then. We'll put it in the contract. So we all do it at once.
However you want to do it, just let me know and I'll be here. And you all have my business card. So if there's anything about this or really anything else that ever comes to mind that you have a question about, please feel free to contact me. My email is there, my cell phone is there. So I'm here to serve. So if you need anything, just please do let me know. And there is, if I can say one more thing, there is information about our Internet Essentials program. So for any of your residents that are low income that need internet, they can get our $50 internet for $9.95 a month. So if you have questions about that, you can let me know as well. And the federal government does have a $50 right now to go toward that payment or any other internet, doesn't have to be ours, $50 that they will pay toward internet a month. And that's for as long as the money lasts. So if you have questions about that, you can let me know as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Sheeline had a comment.
I would just love to be able to pay this tax, but I need Comcast to bring service down Dutch Road. So if you could get that arranged, I'd appreciate it.
All right. Any other comments? Let's keep moving on. Yes.
I have a question. Now, my understanding is the percentage or the amount that the county will receive from Comcast depends upon the percentage that the county is gonna put down.
That you decide to have us place on the bills. So you can leave it at 0, the way it is now, or you can go 1% up to 5%. You tell us what that amount is, and what we do is we put that on the bills of our customers who are in your jurisdiction, and then quarterly we send you a check.
Thank you.
I think the motion was 5% is what the motion was. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Say aye, signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Motion carried. Let's move down to B, the acting assessor salary. Of course, Wendy took the job as our administrator. So Jennifer Boyd is going to take the acting assessor until she takes the test, passes the test. So we're going to pay her 75% of the salary that Wendy was being paid. So I need a motion for that. Mr. Nicholson, Mr. Palin seconds it. I guess any discussion about that? Yes, Marilyn.
That 75% is until she passes the test, and then it goes to what was Wendy's existing salary?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
Well, we will have to go through and officially name her as the assessor at that
Yes,
time.
at
That's
that point, we'll have to
It
do
won't be
the-
right when she passes. It will be when it goes through. the board
But that
too.
is the intent.
That is the intent, correct.
And I believe the test is going to be here in Lee County. Wendy lined it up, so I think a couple of weeks out. Would that be correct?
Next week.
Next week. So
On our home
hopefully we
turf.
have it taken care of by then. So, and then we'll have to put her in acting. So we have a motion on the table. We have a second. We had discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Congratulations, Jennifer. We'll go to the ordinance amending the Liquor Control Act. It was held over. I don't know if this was held over in August or holdover till August. I'm sorry. Did everybody get a chance? The Liquor Commission met last month. They had some changes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the changes? I need a motion on the floor, and we'll discuss it. Mr. Sheeline, and then Mr. Farser seconds it. Let's go to comments. Anybody have any comments? Mr. Dorberg, do you want to read the changes?
Sure.
I know you asked me to earlier.
There's a couple changes. Most of them pertain to Sunday sales, allowing golf courses and bars and restaurants to begin sale at 7 a.m. We had a very persistent golf course owners show up and was really concerned about that. So, and then there were some other changes in regards to the number of licenses that can be given out. And the big thing was the Green River Saddle Club, which is a nonprofit, came. They're going to go down to, I believe, a Class G license, which is a nonprofit license. It's $40 per event. And we opened up a lot more of those. There was only 4 or 5 available for the entire year. We allow 50 now, but that is strictly for nonprofits. So kind of segments it. That, if I remember, is all the changes.
That sounds good. The big change is Sunday, but package is still 11 o'clock a.m. And if you're a restaurant or a golf course, you can start serving at 7 a.m.
Just hard golfing at 8 a.m. without a Bloody Mary. So
Any discussion? We have a first and second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Abstained, motion carried. Put on the abstained. We'll go down to the resolution appointing Donna Jungles as trustee of the West Brooklyn Fire Department. Do I have a motion? Mr. McLean. Mr. Copine seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. We have no executive session. We'll go down to mileage and per diem. I need a motion. Mr. Kitson. Mrs. Allen seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All bills and appropriation allowed by roll call. I need a motion for that. I did that, didn't I? Okay, Mr. Kitson does all bills and appropriations. Ms. White seconds it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Need a motion to adjourn. Mr. I'm sorry. It should have been in public visitor comments, but go ahead. Sorry, Charlie. We only approved the first one, A, the rest of them, we sent them back to zoning. B, yes, A. Parcel 1563, 21-P-1563 was a petition. I don't have the parcel number, but that's the Big Sky Wind repower. We sent that back to zoning. They skipped a step in how they are doing it, and so we sent it back to zoning. We need to do it properly, though. We skipped this. I'll talk to you after the meeting and I'll explain to you what we did, but we didn't do it properly, so we need to redo it. I think we need a roll call vote. I've just pointed out. Oh, bills and appropriations, we need a roll call. I'm sorry, you are correct. Let's get back up to that. Yep. Thanks, Chris.
Horstman,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Kitson,
Yes.
Copane,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Minimi,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Norberg,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Shippert,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Zeman,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Barster,
Yes.
Gibbler,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes. Thank you. Need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Kitson. Marvin, you got a question?
Chairman, I just want to make one short correction on my report, if I can.
Yes, you may.
my next meeting is July the 27th, not June the 26th.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for correcting that. We got a first to adjourn. I need a second and we'll get out of here. Mrs. Allen, seconds it. All those in favor of adjournment signify by aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You want to come up here and we'll go through that parcel with you?